Top Hits USA from RPM. Our name says it all. Get the latest hits while they're the hottest. With Top Hits USA, you'll have the track for sure. Visit tophitsusa.com or call 800-521-2537 and get a free demo.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we're back for session number 2 tonight. It's Monday night live chat night. That means that we come in and we talk about things, important things. Sometimes we're talking projectors, sometimes we're talking lights, and now we're going to talk about websites. And I've got Jason. Jason, good evening.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. It's going well. And just before we went on, I was telling Jason I spent the day playing with websites. I spent the day playing with WordPress. So this is going to be like right down the perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
It can be frustrating sometimes, right? There's a lot to it, and
never frustrating because it always works.
Why is it going slow?
Oh, it always goes. It always goes fast. There's never a problem when you put in a plugin and all of a sudden 3 things stop working. Never happens.
No, never. That's never been something I've experienced. I don't know which ones you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. That must be the bad one. So, gang, what we're going to talk about tonight is ways to kind of optimize our website, how we're working with our website, and looking at some different avenues and ideas with making that a more productive part of our world. So, Jason, you work with a variety of different websites. So, kind of just kind of set the stage a little bit, what kind of things you do work with websites and such, and then we'll get into some ideas of how to make those function better.
Right. Well, I've been working with websites since like 1994. So the web was brand new. I had a website. It was on GeoCities, but we had the animated GIFs and we had our place on the internet. And, since then, I've built to the point where I run my own hosting company, host a variety of websites. 99.9% of them are WordPress-based websites. And I think you'll find that a huge portion of the internet is running on WordPress at this point because it ranks really well with Google.
Very much so. And it's actually surprising when I've seen some very high-end websites from major companies, and you're thinking, well, they can't be using WordPress because WordPress is this free website, and you go and you start looking, and it's like, dang, that's a customized WordPress site.
Yep.
Because you go and you put in WP-admin, and by God, there's their login page.
Yeah. And if they were really custom, they would have even changed that, so you would never know.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of WordPress, though, is it scales really well. You can use it across multiple sites and have a whole network. And Google just loves the way it's optimized right out of the box for search engines. So you're going to rank really well as long as you're using content properly, which is a huge part of making sure that we get on the web and make people see us.
Right.
But then we start adding in our plugins and building our site out to, our vision of it, and things start getting slow. And what do we do?
That's where we are. Let's take it from there. Right. You set it up well.
So first thing you're going to want to do is find out what your page load speed actually is, because that's going to affect how you rank right out of the gate. You got 2 websites that Google sees as perfectly identical, and one loads in 8 seconds and the other one loads in 2 seconds. Guess which one they're going to put up higher. Mm-hmm. So run your website through, there's some nice tools. GT Metrics is one, YSlow, and number 1, Google Page Speed Insights. And they're going to tell you how fast your page loads, what their score is, and give you a breakdown of things that you can do right off the bat to improve your speed. Number one thing you're going to want to make sure you do, though, is have the right hosting plan. I mean, if you're on some massive server with 1,000 websites and you're all sharing the same resources, your page is going to load slow, right?
And that's a common GoDaddy. I mean, for a lot of people, that's their first experience. It's like, oh, you bought a domain. Now you need hosting.
Yeah. What do you do? Where do you go? Oh, well, this is the easy place. And they only charge $1.
Yep.
So for $1 a month, what are you getting? You know, what you pay for. Exactly. And, so you don't want to go with bottom of the barrel. You want to make sure that you've got a hosting plan that's going to suit the needs of your website. So if you're hosting a whole bunch of video on your website, you're going to need a little bit more oomph in the back end. So maybe you're going to pay $30 a month instead of $3 or $4 a month, because you're going to be on a smaller server. Your resources are more fairly allocated to your site, right? Hard part about that is there's a million different hosting plans out there, and trying to determine what's good and what's not. You really got to check your reviews and go through and just it's research, right? You know, like
it really
anything.
is. It really is. And I didn't realize how difficult it was until we did have a couple of sites that were on the GoDaddy, and then we were having issues. So then you start to go and do some research and looking, and I have some teenagers in the house who are very knowledgeable about such things. And the education I received from them was, first off, astounding. I mean, the whole idea of dedicated servers and shared servers and things you could do with that, and oh my gosh, it was incredible. And then is it on an SSD or is it on a standard hard drive? And it really came down to, from my standpoint, is that it was a combination of speed, bandwidth, and customer service, that someone was going to be there to help and we've had instances where everything basically broke loose and there was something that happened. We installed a plugin and boom, gone.
Yep.
So,
and if your website's down at 2 a.m., can you get a hold of somebody?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be able to get a hold of somebody. You're there working on it at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and that was really what was one of the biggest reasons, because there were other ones that were cheaper out there. And if you had told me 5 years ago that I'd be spending this amount of money on a website because of that, what? GoDaddy's only $5 a month, whatever it was, and they have Danica Patrick,
Yeah, it must be fast, right?
It must be fast.
But it's one of those things you live and learn, just like, most of us, we bought the cheapest lights when we started off. We make budget conscious choices, but, we do have to make sure that we're getting good value for our money too, right?
Mm-hmm.
If people can't reach your website, it's not making you any money, and then it might as well just not be there.
So when people are looking at hosting, what should be a couple of things that they're looking for? A typical DJ website is going to have probably a few videos and a couple of a few things like that. You've seen enough DJ websites to have an idea. Is there something they should be looking for with the hosting specifically? Because
it's going to be it's going to come down to what is tolerable to you. For most DJs, they're going to look at it and go, yeah, sure, shared server is probably okay. As long as my page loads in under 10 seconds, I'm happy enough with that.
Mm-hmm.
Most DJs, they got a small market that they're looking at, and they're working on a word of mouth basis. But, if you're running a multi-op business and making sure that your 15 or 20 guys are out every weekend, then you're going to want to maybe look at something like a virtual private server, where you have your chunk of the server and those resources are allocated to you. They can be bumped up if necessary, at additional costs, but you can tailor your web hosting need to how your site is performing. And, a good tech company will be able to take your site and look at how it's been performing and make adjustments so that you're getting the best bang for your buck there too. Like you mentioned, though, things like SSDs, anything that's got to spin up a hard drive takes time, right? So
How about before we get when it comes to setting up the server, I want to make sure we talk about this before. Maybe you're going to get to this, but how technically savvy does a person need to be? Because there's another aspect of it. GoDaddy's quick and easy. That's one of the big reasons why so many people jump on that. And if they want to change servers, that can be intimidating.
Well, especially if you're with GoDaddy, because they don't make it very easy for you to get away sometimes, and they will drag their feet on that process a little bit. I don't want to say anything bad, but GoDaddy's not my favorite, and they're obviously not yours too. A good company should be able to assist with most of this process and work with you to make sure that your site gets moved over properly. That might require you setting up your logins and passing them over to them, so that they can log into your accounts and bring things over properly. But a full service company, you're going to pay for that, but they're going to make sure everything moves over and that transition goes as seamlessly as possible. So you don't miss out on important emails and things like that as part of the process too, because often our email is hosted in the same place as our website, right?
Very much so. Yep. Okay, cool. I want to make sure we talked about that a little bit, because that's something that can be intimidating.
Absolutely. But I've helped a lot of guys through it myself. If they're coming from a similar sort of hosting, usually it's just a click of a couple of buttons and I can bring everything over and it's like nothing ever happened, right?
Yeah, some of them have they have a plugin that you just install on the current site and it just propagates everything over.
Yeah, and we'll pull all the email addresses and databases and everything that's necessary over, and it just goes smooth as butter.
Yeah.
Right? Beyond that, if you're working with WordPress, you're going to want to make sure that you're using a fast WordPress theme. So you're going to want something that's been optimized for not just desktops, but tablets and mobile devices. Search engines are going to favor designs that have the same URL across all different interfaces, right? And they prefer sites that are mobile ready now.
Now, in the case of one of the things we're working on with our websites, we were looking at the functionality of having a website that we have a desktop design, and then it has a completely different mobile design. Incredibly fast on the mobile device, and it's very, very much faster on the desktop. But is that something will Google look at that? And because they're, in essence, two different designs, is that something that they're going to say, oh, we don't like that as much as one that would be more...
No, Google actually likes that better because they see that you've done what you can to have an optimal page loading time for your user.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear a dog barking in my background. I think there's a courier at my door. Late night delivery. Google likes that, and a well-designed theme can actually pull a megabyte or more out of the website, loading it on mobile. So you're not loading anything unnecessary. That page speed now has increased exponentially as far as Google's concerned. And that's going to improve your search engine rankings.
And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why we're changing themes to one that is that way, because that mobile, it's almost instantaneous. It was scary fast compared to what we've been using right now. Crazy.
Yeah, no, totally. And then there's all those plugins we were talking about.
Yeah.
Having a ton of plugins isn't necessarily going to slow your website down, but chances are now you're going to start seeing conflicts between them because they're trying to work on the same parts of WordPress and they're grabbing at the same thing at the same time, and that doesn't get along. And then you've got poor coding and a million things that can cause your website to slow down because of plugins, right? Some of them are making calls to external servers, and that takes time because now you have to wait for that server over there to respond before your page can load. And none of that helps, right?
Yeah. That plugin thing has probably been the biggest, because obviously with the functionality we need, we have a lot of plugins. And we had, I think it was about 6 months ago, we had a plugin that updated, and the new version had major conflicts with one of our major plugins that we used. And what did it do? It crashed the whole site.
Yeah.
We're back to that story again. It's like, oh, wait, now we have to go back into our hosting account, which has this time machine type capability to go back and reset itself before that happened.
Yeah, which, hopefully your hosting, once again, has been doing backups as well. And, at least a daily, weekly, and a monthly to go back to. They might not have an hourly, but if you can go back a day or go back a week, that's better than the beginning of time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think it was something that was in the cheaper hosting we had with GoDaddy, but it was, I believe, less frequent than what it is now.
Yeah.
So there's some plugins out there that are optimizing plugins, such as some that will optimize our pictures, and some that will allow that it's not going to load things that you don't need it to load, and what have you. Are some of those worth really looking into?
Definitely. I mean, we want to make sure that our images are optimized for the web before we upload them to the website. But then there's a plugin, I believe it's called WP Smush.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of it.
It's by WPMU Dev, which they have a great suite of plugins that all work well together because they're all coded by the same people. But WP Smush, what it does is takes your images as you upload them to the server and compresses them further. And you can make adjustments on how much compression it does, but every kilobyte that you can pull out of an image increases your page speed load again. And then there's caching plugins. So what they do is they make a static version of your website. So instead of every time a person visits your page, them being served what's coming from the database and making a bunch of server calls, they're seeing an image of your site that's been created by the server. So they might not see the most recent version of your site because you might have changed something in the last 30 seconds and they're seeing what you had 3 minutes ago. But it increases your page load speeds. They're not a great thing to turn on while you're still developing the site because you make changes and you go, it didn't show up. What did I do? Yeah. Right? But once you've got a site and it's set up and you're updating your blog once a day, then those kind of plugins are really great because they're going to speed everything up for you. And then there's plugins that you can use that will offload some of your loading to what's called the content delivery network. So it'll take all your pictures and it will spread them out over a network on the web. And instead of every resource being pulled from the server that your website is hosted on, it goes, oh, well, we're on this content delivery network and I'm in San Jose and there's a server in San Diego. It's faster to pull those images from there. Which once again increases your page load speed. So there's some tricks that you can do to kind of get around your own server limitations, right? To improve the load speeds right off the get-go.
Cool. One last thing, and then we're going to have to wrap things up here in a couple. Implementing social media aspects. You can bring your Facebook feed. You can have your page showing up there. You can bring YouTube videos in. Are these a good idea to be implementing this way, or is it something that's going to kill your speed on your website to the point where load speeds just are not worth having that connection like that?
YouTube videos are a double-edged sword because Google loves to see YouTube videos embedded on your website because they own YouTube.
Sure. And
YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world now. So Google loves that, but they decrease your speed. Same with all those social media widgets, your Pinterest thing and your Twitter feed. All of those make for external calls that now slow down your your page load. But for website owners, social media traffic is like second only to search engine traffic. So they want that back and forth, right?
Yeah.
That's why you see sharing buttons all over the place. And if you're going to put those buttons on, don't use the official one, because that is going to have to pull that image from an external server and has all these calls. Load your own images onto your website, have that built into your own website, use a social media sharing plugin within WordPress, but don't use these ones that are, direct from Facebook, or, they don't help.
Yeah. Some of those are I've looked at some of those, and they're not beneficial in any way, except for the people who are trying to on the other side there. Jason, great information tonight. If people would like to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get in touch to talk about hosting and websites and things, since you basically do that and have got experience in that area?
Well, my hosting is farouthost.com. We say we've got hosting that's out of this world.
Nice.
Or if you want to talk about DJ stuff, dantshout.com, and you can contact me through there as well. Happy to talk about anything with anybody. So.
Okay, I'm just going to put the link here in the description. You said it was farouthost.com.
You bet.
Sweet. We'll just save that so you guys can go check that out, because it will be down in the YouTube description there. So if you're watching on Facebook, you'll have to pop out to the show number 2 with Jason, and it's in that description. And from there, you can find his link to get in touch with him. Jason, great stuff. Thank you very much for being on with me tonight.
Thanks for having me again, John.
We'll be back in just a few minutes here with our final show here on Monday night. Again, down below, go to the DJ and TV team show, and we'll be right back.